Hey guys, Capture here with a Kerbal Let's Play. This episode, our objective will be landing on the moon. Let's go ahead and start a game. I'll start a fresh new game here. We'll go Capture Let's Play. Now, I'm going to be creating this as if we were in the demo still, so that way anyone playing the demo will still be able to follow along. So we'll start with our MK pod because that's the only one available to us in the demo. We'll also be using an FL T400 fuel tank, an FL T800 fuel tank, the LV-T330 liquid fuel engine, and the LV-909 liquid fuel engine. For controls, we'll need the advanced SAS module, and we'll also use the RV-105 RCS thruster block. In order to use the thrusters, we'll have to go ahead and add our propellant, and we'll use the RCS fuel tank to do that. Also, we'll need to use the RT-10 solid fuel booster as a way to leave Earth. Structurally, we'll obviously need our TT-18A launch stability enhancers. We'll need our TR-18A stack decouplers. We'll use a MK1 stack tricoupler. We'll also be using the EAS4 strut connectors. As far as aerodynamics, we'll go ahead and use an AV R8 winglet. We'll throw in a tail fin, and let's use a standard NC for the cone. That will go right there. Science-wise, we can go ahead and throw on an antenna, and we'll use all of this equipment as well. So when we land on the moon, we can take some readings. Alright, let's go ahead and get that built. Alright, that's our ship put together. We'll go ahead and change the name here. We'll switch it to Moon Lander. We'll save it. Alright, I just want to point out a few things. We're not completely done yet, but this is the main gist of it. I've added wings for stability so I don't have to use the thrusters at initial takeoff. And I'd also like to point out I switched the cone so I could put the antenna on top, and I think that was everything I wanted to mention. I might have... So, I forgot to talk about the landing struts, and we'll just use the basic landing struts here to start with. We'll put down... Interesting. Put down 4 of them. That should be fine. I'd also like to add in a ladder. We only need one of those. So that way we can get up and out of the pod, or back into the pod easier if we wanted to walk around on the moon. I'd also like to point out that this, looking at it, probably won't be able to get back from the moon, but we can send another one there to recover this guy eventually in a different episode, maybe. This is the Moon Lander anyways, it's not the Moon Lander and Returner. That'll be the next one. So that should do it. Now we just need to make sure we have our staging set up. So obviously our first thing, we need to shoot those off, but we need to make sure we let go of our stability enhancers or we won't go nowhere. So we remove those. We can put those with the same stage as those, so that way we can kick them off right when we start the next engines, right when we release the last ones. Start off our engine. And I actually don't need these decouplers there because I have this one there for the main one. So let's do this. Now, since everything should be tripled, it shouldn't have mattered. I think we're good. We'll find out. So we have those three engines. Okay. Then remove that and kick off the engine. And our last step is our parachute. I believe that is everything. So let's go ahead and try and launch this puppy. And here we are. Alright. Just taking a look at the ship we've master crafted here. Everything looks good. So our mission is to the moon. First, we'll probably need to set a target for the moon. Now, I'd like to point out that the way that I land on the moon, typically my orbit will end up somewhere in this vicinity. So in this case, I'll probably miss the moon. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed it up till we can get the moon in this general vicinity and still leaving on this side of the Earth. So let's see, we got, where are we at? Let's just speed it up a little bit here. That should be good. So you want to make sure when I do this that my leaving point, because I'm going to be about here, and we can take a look at this when we're actually in the air and you can see the orbit forming. But usually this pink dot or purple dot, whatever color you think that is right about there. So I think now everything has been verified. Let's go ahead and launch our rocket. Oh, I forgot to mention, you should activate SAS before you launch. That way you'll be straight from the beginning. But I've adjusted it. We're good now. Yes, make sure you start SAS. You don't necessarily need your RCS right away. You can save those for space. Make sure you time that good when the one solid fuel is gone. You can blow it away and start the other one right away. So, a little bit about this orbit. Basically, what I do is, when I leave the first layer of the atmosphere, I'll start changing my heading, and it'll roughly be 80% to horizontal to the Earth. And basically, you'll be using the Earth's gravitational force actually slingshot you, sort of speak, to the moon in a way to try and conserve fuel. Now this is this is going to be a very simplistic approach to landing on the moon. I'm not going to be using anything very advanced. This will just be a very easy way to land on the moon. So you can see I've started up my engines. You have to make sure you start up your thrusters beforehand. So I'm leaving that first layer now. I'll probably want to turn on my thrusters so it's a little bit easier to maneuver the ship here. And you'll start to twist and turn as you move. You'll just have to correct it. And if you get too far out of control, just turn your SAS back on and it will correct it for you. So, now that I'm approaching space, I'm just adjusting slightly here. I want to make sure my target is level with that line, so that way when I look out here, now I can see where I'm at. When I look out here, I want to make sure this is staying even with the moon's, my orbit. So that way I'm on a flat plane, the same plane, so if I miss it on the first go around, I can catch it on the next time around. So you can see my orbit is kind of pushing out this way, and as I increase speed, that path will keep narrowing and narrowing, and eventually I'll come in the same plane and I'll pass through the moon's orbit. At which point, since I've set this target, it will estimate where I'll come into the orbit of the moon. And as you can see, you cannot warp when the throttle's up, so it'll be just a moment here. It'll start picking up once I approach 3,000 meters per second. It starts getting pretty fast. So what I usually do is watch this. When it starts getting really fast, I'll switch back and start slowing it down just to see where in the orbit I am, and it'll start estimating where I'll be when I approach the moon, things like that. So I'll throttle it down here to half. You can see that's where I am and that's where the moon is. So I'm approaching. I'm going to slow it all the way down here. So I'm not going to get it here, but when I'm coming back, I'm here and the moon's here. So I'll need to go a little bit further. As you can see, I barely put my thrusters up. Now you can see I will have entered the moon's orbit right here. This is when I will encounter the moon and start being affected by its gravitational force. The moon will be here when I enter it, and if I didn't adjust my course, I would escape the moon and it would be here. Now this pink orbit is my new orbit, or what it would be, and it would send me crashing back to the Earth. So we're not aiming for that anyways. Now I can go ahead and zoom, and I'd also like to point out, if you have anything that like solar panels, anything like that, you will want to activate those now. Even though this is a manned pod, if in the event you don't use a manned pod and you're sending a satellite, you want to activate those as soon as you are in space, since they aren't affected by friction or anything. They won't be damaged. So activating them right away is essential. So we can go ahead and warp speed now to the point at which we actually enter the moon's orbit, and we'll see what our orbit is so we can adjust our flight accordingly. Also, it'll tell you when you'll encounter that in terms of time, as I've just okay. So you can see I'm going to miss the moon, and we knew that because it gave me my new orbit and everything. So I'll need to slow down so that I can get pulled into the moon. So in order to slow down, I'm going to need to, instead of going to the orbit path, I'll want to go to the anti-orbit path. So I'll find the circle with the X through it. This way it'll help me slow down the fastest, give me the most efficient slowdown, and adjust my course. Now I can use my engines to do this, or I can turn my thrusters on and use thrusters to also slow down. Both will work. You want to make sure you have enough fuel to actually be able to land on the moon. And I would say probably for this vehicle, it'll need around 60 to 70 units of fuel to land. So we'll want to make sure that we have enough, and we can check to see how our orbit is changing, and you can see we're getting closer. So I'm going to use my propellant here, and I can go only propellant, but it's going to take a lot longer and it might not actually do it all. I'll probably need to get around 200 meters per second before I'll actually be able to land on the moon, or have my orbit adjusted enough to land on the moon. As As you can see, I'm still bending and bending. With plenty of fuel. Increase this here just a bit to speed this up. Take a look. Yep, we're getting there. Like I said, it's probably going to be around 200 meters per second where it'll be on there. Let's take a look. Yep, we're getting really close. Alright, let's go ahead and throw that up. We can keep this up. So you can see we're wrapping in, and you can also see now if we left it, we would actually be orbiting Earth. But that's not what we want to do. We want to land on the moon. So pretty close to 200 meters per second. Closing in. Let's increase this here. Let's check it out. Alright, we're really close. We're gonna be in a danger zone, and we might not have enough to actually leave the moon. So now you can see our orbit is going to take us right into the moon. That's exactly what we want. So now we can go ahead and speed up, and it's important to make sure we take our thrusters off so that way it doesn't waste any as we're speeding up, because we'll probably need it to land. But just to be safe, we'll use it, or we'll save it in case we do. Now you can see my path. I usually take back control when I'm around 100,000 meters. I'm going to be going about 600 miles an hour at that point. So now that I'm under 100,000 miles or meters, I'll need to again get in that anti-orbit to slow down the most efficiently. And as you can see, when I use thrusters, it's not slowing me down that much, and I have 60 units of fuel, so I should be in good shape. I probably won't start using my engine to actually slow down until I get closer, but now's a good chance we can take a look at our landing gear and make sure that's operating, and it is, and looks like we have enough clearance for our engine, so that should be good. We can take a look at our ladder, and yep, that appears to be working, so we can close that back up. Now you can see as I slow down, this should approach closer and closer to the center of my navigational ball. So I'm 60,000 now, and I'm going 600 meters a second. And you can run some tests or something, but see, I max it out. I'm decreasing speed roughly 50 meters, 10 meters a second. So I can sort of base it out at what I need. So I'm going to wait till about 20,000 meters, which is actually about 18,000 meters from the surface, because the moon is anywhere from, because my target is set for the center of the moon. So this is actually not 100% accurate. So I will be, this is based off the center of the moon, so I'll be about 2,000 to 3,000 meters off. So I'll need to make sure I adjust accordingly to that. So you can see I'm still going pretty fast as I'm approaching the moon. Turn those on, start slowing me down a little bit. Now I know it seems kind of confusing that this is the angle I need to be at, but this is the, you have to remember, this is the orbit I'm coming into the moon at. So and my objective right now is to slow down as fast as possible using most efficient with my fuel. Eventually I will be landing straight up and down, but for now I need to slow down. So I'm at 20,000 meters now, so I'll want to start slowing down pretty heavily. And again, this thing can slow down relatively fast, 10 meters a second in speed if I'm maxed out. will slow me down pretty fast if I need that. And again, you need to be going about anywhere from, I would say, under 30 meters per second in order to be safe when you land. So I'm approaching. Oh shit. And I've hit the wrong button. So now you can see I'm at about 90. Quick recovery there. 3,000, but really I'm probably about 1,000, I would say. And as this starts moving faster, you'll be able to notice, and you can see my fuel is getting pretty low. But that's okay. I think we're gonna be good. I want to get my landing gear down. That's essential. Ever so slightly. Yeah, I'm gonna have like just enough fuel. It's crazy. Ran out of those. Max it up. Oh boy, I ran out. Well, let's hope. Oh, I broke one of my landing struts. This is not good. Not good. The good news is I should be, oh crap, just get somewhere near landing on a strut. Oh, well, the good news is I landed on the moon. The bad news is I'm not leaving the moon in this pod. But even if I had landed successfully, I wasn't leaving. Yeah, so that's landing on the. Technically, I landed on the moon. Crash landing is still landing. Now I can flip my pod over, and let's go ahead and walk out. So. I think J was to let go, but so now I'm walking on the moon. You can hit R and it will give you your jetpack, and then same controls, shift for throttle up, control for throttle down, and then you can jump, and you'll want to be careful with landing, because if you, like, watch, I land going too fast, now I'm out of control and can't do anything. And I have to wait till I'm completely done moving before I can do anything. But, yep. We've landed on the moon. Let's just go ahead and take a look at our... We can just jetpack over there. I want to make sure I'm not going too fast and crash and die, but... Alright, so this is the damage. I wonder if the ladder can still come down. Oh, let's see if our gauges still work. Nope, we can't do anything with those. Should have put them on the pod. Oh, I can extend the ladder though. Well then why shouldn't... Those should work. Maybe... Oh, there's probably... It would say no power though. Well, I can't be for certain why not, but... pretty much all I can do is wait for someone to come pick him up. So that's probably that'll be the next mission. We'll hope somebody will pick him up. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. It wasn't a 100% successful landing, but it was a landing nonetheless. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.